is between the four nations, do you see more room for optimism from a revolutionary Pan-African perspective as versus others, or do you see them generally on the same trajectory? Anybody can go first.
Sorry, who's going first?
Go ahead, Afion. You're at liberty too.
Oh, okay. Gabon is certainly not on the list in terms of, a progressive course.
Yes.
Burkina Faso and Mali, definitely, there's a lot of prospects there.
Right.
But yes, so it's just, so that's what it is. And in politics or in resistance or in the road to revolution, we're grateful for every step forward, although of course a step forward in the wrong direction can also take us back.
Backward.
But the most important thing is how it impacts on the consciousness of the people, and how we're able to develop that. So so that extent, they're all on that level except Gabon.
Okay. All right. Yeah. You're fine. Robert Secker, you want to add anything here?
Yeah, one of the best things is when you are in the midst of Pan-Africanists, it's like they are reading your mind. When Sister Afion speaks, it's like she downloaded from my mind. So that tells you we come from the same school of thought. So that makes the conversation, very, very easy. Definitely Gabon is off the list because it's a palace coup, is the Bongo continuity of that entire cabal. But as I always say, I am not an optimist when it comes to the issues of Africa. And I'm not a pessimist either. I have learned over the years to become a realist. Because when I used to be an optimist, anything happened, I'm like, oh, something's about to change. We've seen that. And then at the end of the day, things go back to status quo. I can't be a pessimist because I always hope for the survival of my people, and I always look forward to the future. But I decide to be a realist, to look at the data, to look at the reality, and to be able to predict what is coming. Mali, like the Sister Afion said, there's hope in that Sahel area because sometimes necessity is the mother of invention, because they are faced with Islamic Jihad, which is now threatening their very existence. And the neo-colonial underneath that, they are facing a lot of hardship right now, economically and what have you. So this will force them to see and say that unity can be very, very important to our survival. So perhaps it will ignite the Pan-African fire in them to be able. And then Guinea, take Guinea off the table too, because the guy in Guinea is not a Pan-Africanist, neither by training or by ideology. He is not. He is not. So you have to look at just Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. So perhaps something might happen between these people. But there is, as I speak to you, there's a lot of pressure on them, a lot of pressure. If they don't make haste and these guys hand over to so-called democratic elected leaders, that's the end of that dream.
Understood, my brother. Brother leader, if you have anything to add, feel free to add it now to this question.
Yeah, Tendai Mwari, Ditto Gabon. And by the way, the present person who is in charge of the levers of power is a cousin of the Bongos, Omar Bongo and Ali Bongo.
You know what, Brother leader? Sorry, because we didn't get into Gabon that much last week, yeah. So I'm going to ask you briefly, because I know you can do this succinctly. Just give the viewers a brief overview of the Gabon situation in terms of its recent history, and that will give us an understanding of why we're saying Gabon is off the table, basically.
Well, Tendai Mwari, because Gabon has been the presidency of Gabon has been in the hands of one family who has been in the pocket of the French government. In fact, the father of Ali Bongo, who was supposedly toppled recently, was handpicked by the French government. He was the vice president when Gabon got its so-called independence, its fake independence in 1960. And he was handpicked when the previous president was ill. He was handpicked and the constitution was altered so that he could step up to the position of president. And when there were attempted coups, he was protected by the French. And then when he died, I think it was in 2009 that Omar Bongo died after 42 years, protected by the French to maintain the position and protect French interests and promote French interest in Gabon. Then his son took over the position. Now the levers of power are in the hands of a cousin of the Bongo family, who was the head of the presidential guard, handpicked by his elder cousin Omar Bongo, and handpicked to protect French interests. So, as the head of the presidential guard, he has been protecting French interests. He's been trained to protect French interests, and there is no evidence that he's going to do otherwise. I'm also, if I was to pick one that sparks some degree of hope, it would be Burkina Faso. Not necessarily because of anything that I've heard about Traore, Ibrahim Traore, who is now in the seat of the presidency, that gives me any reassurance in terms of his background. I don't know that he has any revolutionary background. I've not seen any evidence of that. What he says, or what he has said since the coup, sounds very impressive. But I'm also aware that the person who was selected as prime minister is someone who has revolutionary credentials, someone who is known to be a Sankarist, so to speak, has always been a defender of the name and the legacy of Thomas Sankara. He is a lawyer, amongst other things, and his name, I've got his name here. I'm not very familiar with him, but the little I know about him, that he has that background that gives me some sense of hope. I also heard the speech from the foreign minister of the new foreign minister of Burkina Faso to the United Nations a month or so ago, which was very, very impressive. Oratorically, or rhetorically, it was a very revolutionary speech, in your face revolutionary speech. That gives me some sense of hope, not least because he sounded authentic. That's the most I can say. Beyond that, I am not giving a great deal of traction to any of the others. To be frank, I totally agree with Brother Sekou. I'm crossing out Guinea as well, because I don't understand how what's his name, Doumbouya, was a French legionnaire, which means that he has sworn allegiance to the French government. He served in the French legionnaires for some 15 years. That he came back to Guinea in 2018, at a time when Condé, the Guinean president, was at odds with the French because he had engaged in some economic transactions with the Chinese that upset the French. And Doumbouya, after some training, specialist training by the Americans in Burkina Faso, alongside Goita, who is from Mali, who is his personal friend, I'm made to understand. He, Goita, and Traore have had training from the American government in 2018 as a specialist training from the American government in 2018, and apparently know each other very well. So that concerns me a great deal. And also, I'm aware that the head of Afrikan, whose name slips me at the moment, I don't know why it's a
General Michael Langley.
General Michael Langley was grilled in Congress a couple of months back about the coups in Mali and Burkina Faso in particular. And Matt Gaetz, the representative who was grilling him, raised the issue about these men being trained by the American government, by the American army, and these men having American money invested in them. And, you know, a picture was, you also put up a picture of Doumbouya posing in front of the French American military base with American officers. Also, we are aware that the green beret of the Pentagon were in Guinea training the very soldiers who were involved in the coup d'etat that happened whilst they were being trained by the U.S. Green Beret from the Pentagon. You put all those things together, you know, and let me just say very quickly also, his wife is a French legionnaire, senior military police officer, still is a senior military police officer, sworn allegiance to France. I can't see, if you can't get rid of this French agent, government agent out of your bedroom, I don't see how you would even have the will to get rid of the French out of your country.